I want to show you a strategy for collecting data from reading and writing conferences that is easy and that allows you to keep a record for yourself, but also to leave a record of your work with the student that the student can refer back to as they're continuing to work on whatever you conferred about independently. For each of my students, I have a menu. This is for me. I keep this in my teacher notebook. This is my writing menu, and it follows the writing domains. So you'll see we have ideas, organization, style, and conventions, each of the 4 domains that are addressed on the writing rubric. On the opposite side of this menu, I copy a reading menu. And this just follows the cafe menu, which is from the cafe book by the sisters. And it follows the parts of the cafe: comprehension, accuracy, fluency, and expanding vocabulary. So all the things that readers do. And then with my writing menu, it's all the things that I'm expecting my writers to do. The great part about these menus is that these menus give you an idea of things that you might choose to use in complimenting students about their work, and also ideas for the teaching points in your conferences. Because a lot of times you're sitting with a student and it's very difficult to come up with just one thing that you might choose to teach that student. So we'll get into that more in just a second, but these are really, really helpful in helping you come up with a teaching point for your conference, and that's why I use them. Let me show you the other piece of this. So this is my teacher record keeping chart, and then this, my student record keeping device, is a sticky note. So imagine that I'm working with a student named Becky. So Becky has a 2-sided menu in my teacher notebook. I sit down to confer with Becky about her writing, and the first thing that I do is I research. During the research phase, you're just sitting and merely observing what the child is doing. So you might just look over their shoulder and read their writing. You might flip through their writer's notebook. You might listen to the student read aloud in the case of a reading conference, but you collect some information about what the student is doing as a reader or a writer. You might also even ask some questions like, how's it going? Or what are you working on as a reader today? What are you working on as a writer today? Once you've gone through the research phase, then you need to decide. You need to decide what is the student doing well, and you need to decide what am I going to teach the student. Once you've decided what the student's doing well, that's going to be your compliment. I use my teacher record keeping form to mark what I complimented the student about. So let's imagine that Becky's doing a really good job staying on topic. So next to staying on topic, here on my menu, I'm going to put a plus. That means that that's what she's doing well. And then I'm going to put the date. So it's 11/12, for example. So on 11/12, Becky was doing a great job of staying on topic. And I could pick anything from ideas, organization, style, and conventions, but today I'm just going to choose that. Now here on my student record keeping tool, I'm going to actually give Becky that compliment. So I'm actually going to write the plus for her, and I'm going to write, you did a great job staying on topic. By providing Becky with a record of what she was doing well, this recognizes it so that Becky knows that it's something that she should always be doing. And it also reinforces it so Becky knows that she should be doing this now and forevermore. So that's Becky's record of what she's been doing well. So that's one piece that's recorded on my form and also on Becky's form. So I've done my research. I've decided what I'm going to compliment. I also have to decide what I'm going to teach. What I'm going to teach Becky becomes my delta, okay? Delta, like what I'm going to change in her work. So even though Becky's doing a really good job staying on topic, during my research phase, I noticed that Becky is not using very many specific details in her narrative. She's on topic, but it's pretty vague. So next to specific details, I'm going to put a delta because that's what I want her to work on, and I'm actually going to underline specific details so I know that's really what the problem is. And I'm also going to put the date, 11/12. Okay? And then over here on the sticky note, I'm not going to write anything yet. I'm going to go ahead now and begin speaking to Becky. Up to this point, I've just been working on my own to record what's been happening. Okay, I haven't even bothered Becky yet. Maybe I've asked her a couple of questions, but up to this point, she could just be working. Now I sit down and I start having a conversation with Becky about the specific details that she should be adding and the great job that she's doing staying on task. And I show her what it is to add a specific detail, and then we add some specific detail to her writing together, and then I watch her as she adds some more detail to her writing, and it's almost like a little mini version of the mini lesson in our conference. And then before I leave Becky, usually when she's giving our new learning a try on her own, I actually write in our teaching point right here on the sticky note. So I'm going to write something like, don't forget to add specific details. And I would do it a lot more neatly. Details. Okay? And it would be a lot neater than that. So this is what Becky gets to keep. She can stick this in her writer's notebook. She has a record of what she did well and what she can work on. Sometimes I even like to add a little arrow down at the bottom, and that's like a next step. And so I might put, we'll meet again on Tuesday to look over your work. So the arrow is kind of an optional third piece that you can add here with a follow-up if you want to. And then I have my teacher record keeping piece here. So I can see, like during a parent conference, what were some of the things that Becky did well in writing? What were some of the things that Becky worked on? Some of her deltas, the things that she was working on, might even become her strengths later on in the semester. Depending on how often you are able to confer with your students, one of these may last a quarter, it may last half a year. I do recommend that you go ahead and change these out after 2 9-week periods. And not just keep one for the entire year, just because it will be easier for you to kind of see. It'll start to get a little too crowded. But this is a really nice tool for you as a teacher to see, oh, well, I'm always complimenting Becky on her ideas, but Becky is really struggling with style. It's just a nice visual reminder of what the student's strengths and weaknesses are in writing and also in reading if you were to use the reading menu. The last thing I'd like to say is that it's really nice if you have some sort of landing space for these sticky notes before you fill them out. So what I like to do is use poster board or a folder to create a parking lot. And I put either student numbers or student names on the parking lot. And so I put a blank sticky note in each parking space. When I confer with a particular student, so say that Becky is student number 1. When I confer with Becky, her sticky note comes off of her parking space. That way I know that Becky has had a conference. Because our natural tendency is to confer with the same students over and over again because they're easy to confer with, or they're the students who we know really need us. And sometimes the students who give us a hard time in conferences, we don't really confer with them as much. So a parking lot for your sticky notes is really nice, because you can see if there's still a sticky note in the parking space, you know that you have not conferred with that student yet. And you can even use like yellow sticky notes for your writing conferences and then pink sticky notes for your reading conferences to show that they've had a writing conference but they have not had a reading conference. So that's just a really quick and easy way. There are a lot of different ways to keep records of conferences, but I've found that to be a really quick and easy way. And the students have a record of their strengths and weaknesses. You have a record of student strengths and weaknesses. And you could use this to plan for small strategy groups. And it's a really nice way to talk to parents, to talk to administrators, and to talk to students about student progress.